have jurisdiction over me. Laws are contracts, and I do not consent. And I am a sovereign. I am a living man, not an entity. Putting my name in... Come on. Look, I was in court the other day, and I heard a guy going on and on and on about all this nonsense. And he looked at the judge, and he said, you are not a real judge. You have fringe on your flag, and that means you're a court of admiralty, and I wasn't in a boat. And this is not a real court. And the judge looked at him, and he said, I got a real jail. You want to check it out? Because I'll really show it to you. Now, the man did back off, and he decided maybe his arguments were not as sound as what he thought they were. But we get to hear some crazy, ridiculous stuff in court. When you're going into court, you are subject to the laws of the state. And you don't get to start talking about the Magna Carta and fringe on flags and all this other nonsense. And challenging the court and saying they have no jurisdiction over you when they clearly do is not the way to go. So ignore those people that are talking nonsense on the internet and just get a lawyer.
What he's talking about is what is called sovereign citizens. And although sovereign citizens are a so-called nuisance to the courts, the way that a lot of these guys who call themselves sovereign citizens learn the law is through jail. They've never really been in contact with any other government entity besides jail, and they go to the law library in jail and all this other stuff. So they have no formal education of how the system works and how the courts work. But the biggest problem with that is not the fact that they're ignorant to the law, but how the courts and the system treats who they believe are sovereign citizens. So in my case, I always represent myself pro se. They think that I'm a sovereign citizen because I choose to represent myself pro se and I choose not to get a lawyer. So in order to force me to get a lawyer, the police keep arresting me and charging me with all kind of crimes just to make me get a lawyer. Now, in all of my cases, I've actually won, but because I know the law so well, it has scared and terrified the entire judicial system in Florida and Georgia. Why? Because you got to think, people have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a law degree. And for me to just come in and win these cases, you got to admit that hurts their pride. So they try to make life hell for me because they think I'm a sovereign citizen.